The following is going to be my 600th movie review on YouTube. Woo! Here we go. Hey, what's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today I'm going to be discussing a brand new film hitting the Shudder streaming platform on Thursday, June 17th. It's Superdeep. Superdeep is about the Kola Superdeep borehole, the largest Russian secret facility. In 1984, at the depth of more than 7 miles below the surface of the Earth, unexplained sounds were recorded, resembling the screams and moans of numerous people. Since these events, the object has been closed. A small research team of scientists and military personnel go down below the surface to find the secret hidden these many decades. What they discover will pose the greatest threat humanity has ever faced. First of all, I gotta give a shout out to Shudder for giving me a screener to see this film a little bit early. You know, with Shudder, you typically know what you're gonna get, but I think this one stands out a little bit more because of the marketing and the premise. The first thing that stood out to me with this film was the poster, which I think looks really nice and reminds me of recent films like the Tomb Raider film that came out in 2018, so just the look of the poster alone shouts blockbuster to me. And the premise, before I saw it, sounded like, Kristen Stewart's Underwater or something, which was actually a movie that I had a lot of fun with. Once you start watching it, you can tell the budget constraints it clearly had, so certain things like green screen work is sometimes touch and go, but stylistically, they did a really good job covering that up and making it work for what it is. I could definitely see this being pretty big for the Russian film industry. What I absolutely love about this film, although you might not know about it, is the fact that it's playing off of an incredibly popular conspiracy theory, often called the well to hell, which has been around forever, which basically says that there's a borehole somewhere in Russia that was dug several miles below the surface of Earth where there really was sounds of crying and yelling heard, and people thought that they dug so deep that they scratched the surface of hell itself. Turned out to be a hoax, of course, but it caused such a stir that people still talk about it today. And this film is kind of adapted from that conspiracy. When you watch the movie, I would say it's less similar to the Underwater film than it is to a few video game series, particularly horror games. A few that this film reminded me of specifically was Resident Evil, The Last of Us, and Silent Hill, based off of the things that they encounter. And I found that aspect of the film absolutely compelling, especially because it uses a lot of practical effects when it comes down to the things that they encounter throughout the film. It looks really neat, and it feels really fresh in terms of horror. However, I cannot stress this enough. If you have the ability to watch this movie in its native language of Russian, please do. I was given a screener with limited options, which meant that I had no other choice than to watch it with an English dub. And when it began, I kept thinking to myself, what is wrong with everybody's voice? It sounded god-awful and distractingly annoying. Some dubs are better than others, I understand that, but that had to be my biggest gripe. Dubbing is easier to understand sometimes than reading a bunch of words at the bottom of a screen. I understand that, but it makes you think that the acting is bad too, when in all actuality, it's probably just fine. Heck, it could be great, but there's just no telling with a dub. Also, with dubs, they can't go verbatim with their translations. They have to use like words in order to fit lip syncing a little bit better. And with mysterious films like this, I feel like a lot of that mystery remains confusing because they can't use the proper terminology when they make their reveals. So some of the plot, particularly towards the end, I had a little bit of a hard time understanding what it was that I was seeing. Other than that, my other issue with the film was with some of the noticeable green screen work. But again, stylistically, they dealt with that pretty well, so it's really not that big of a deal. Let's go ahead and break down my final score from a technical vantage point. This film is made pretty well for such a limited budget. I think it was made with only $4 million, which is crazy low for a movie like this. And for such a limit, it works really well, especially in the practical effects, cinematography, and some of the production design. It feels like a very well put together movie despite its low budget. And sure, there's plenty of spots where you'll notice, stuff like green screen, but I didn't mind that so much. This score is 70%. As for my bias score, or how I felt about the film in general, I don't know, I liked it. In fact, the more that it played out, the more invested I became, as it sort of acts like, a little bit like a video game, where each level they end up at, it gets crazier and crazier, and the mystery itself gets amped up even more. The dubbing of the lines was distractingly bad for me. So this won't be a perfect score, but it's not that bad at 78%. When we average out the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 74%, 74 out of 100 possible stars, or with my updated grading system, that is a B- letter grade. It's not bad at all, guys. Again, if you get the chance to watch it, make sure to watch it in its native language. I think that'll serve you the best, but if not, this is still certainly watchable. Tell me your thoughts on the film in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie pick. Thanks for joining up with us.